session, we have Anastasiia and Cecilia from Viseven with a very interesting new presentation, which is Begin a Courageous Journey with Change Management. Certainly very important topic, especially since we speak a lot about change management. But the floor is all yours, Cecilia and Anastasiia.
Hi, hello everyone. It's so good to see you here. I know you can see me. I see the screen. So I'm going to share my screen and we can get started. All right. So yes, today we're going to talk about change management on our way to modular content. And just a brief piece about me. My name is Cecilia Baeza-Castro, and I am the change manager for Viseven. I won't share the regular credentials about where I have been, but what I will tell you is that what led me to change management was my experience and my collaboration with PwC and partnering up from not just going on trainings, but how do we actually build capacity as we launch new initiatives. And when I meet people, they usually ask me like, why change management? And let's be honest, it's hard to change. When our autopilot mode kicks in, it's kind of difficult, but we always need other people around us and organizations to set ourselves up for success. So I am into change management because I like to help people advance, progress, and move forward. It is very much needed, and it is not easy. So it's great to have like just someone to help you and advocate for you. So in the next 15 minutes, let's do some change management talking. And all I know at this point is that you are here to learn what's the role that change management plays on your way to modular. So I don't know where you are in the journey at the moment, but all that I know is that the role that it plays is what change management can do for you. And at the same time, it is about how you can measure its effectiveness. A lot of the questions that I get are connected to, and how do we actually know that it works? So there is something very important I would like to say, and is that while modular is the approach, what we are really into, it's digital transformation. So you will help me refer back to it. Stay with us because we're going to learn some really good things today. So probably when we start talking about change management, or you hear all of these buzzwords, most of us that we don't know about a subject, we go to Google. Right. So I did the same. And just to show you, like, probably one of the things that you see. So you went to Google and you were starting to check on change management and modular and effectiveness. And then you found this article from Viva. Okay, let's go to this one that says the journey to a global modular content strategy. Sounds like I'm there, right? Then you see top 10 lessons from pharma. Yes, I need to know this. And then in key steps, it's like, oh, look at this. We need a team. Step number 2, we need to understand what is the essential keys in modular content strategy. I'm pretty sure that you already learned that in the conversation with previous colleagues. And step 3, launch the program. So as I was going through this article, they mentioned that teach people how to fish, get the people together, run some training, and voila, it's going to happen. So we know it's not that easy. We know that it takes some time. But then the question is, how do we actually do all of this process in where we can also see what is it forward for us in the organization when we start engaging into all of these efforts and the time commitment that it takes from everyone who is participating. So, okay, you did some research, you still have some questions. This is what we are about to answer in our next slides. So here I have a slide picture of change management. And before I go deeper into it, I would like to ask my colleague to launch the poll. And I would like to learn how how important change management it is for you. So if you can help me to launch the poll, that will be great. I don't know about you, but I cannot see it. Should I see it?
Well, actually, the pool is visible to the audience, but we can't see it in the backstage. So
Okay, that makes sense. Will you help me to read the answers?
let's wait for another 10 to 15 seconds, and then I can read the answers. Okay?
Super, that sounds good.
Thank you, Cecilia. Okay, so the answers are just arriving.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read them in a couple of seconds. So from 1 to 5, how important is change management for you, right? 1 as a lowest score, 5 as a highest score. And we have actually majority, like 80% answered with 5.
It's very important.
Exactly.
Right? All right. So let's first take a look at the concept. What is change management, right? So I summarize change management as the process from taking people from awareness to commitment. From I understand that the organization is going through a change. I understand that there's going to be this new technology in place, and now I know what to do and I want to do it. And there is this gap, and there are questions in between, there are trainings in between, there is exploration when they are engaging with all of these new ways of creating modules, right? And then there is commitment. So something important that I would like to add here is I was reading an article from Forbes recently that said that digital transformation, it's about the people, but typically organizations focus on the tech first and they expect the people to follow. So let's say we are modularizing existing content. And then just focus on having the platform that will break all of those components so that they can put together all of these Viva approved emails or all of these e-detailers and then just expect the people like to use it. But actually it doesn't happen in this way. So something that it is very important in here, it is that we first understand that there are content creators, everyone who will be with their hands on the modules, but then we have also project leads and sponsors. So that determines that what I am going to communicate to to our end users, to everyone who's creating modules, it is not the same that it responds to our leadership. So in this process of driving from awareness to commitment, it is important for us to be able to identify what are those questions that these groups are going to have, so that in every communication, in every training, when we are pretty much just putting all the technology in place for them to use and all of these external resources, people have the information, people know what to do, people have a safe place to ask questions, and then they especially know what to do next, like what are the next steps. But the last thing that I will say about the concept is that it is very important for all of the people involved to build on top of successes. It is not enough just to run training and to look at metrics and see people using the tool, like active users, if people are creating modules, if people are publishing, that it's not enough. It is important for us to know that if we have innovators, if we have people who are building on top of successes, we can replicate or iterate in other countries or in other franchises. I let you choose that path. So here it is a question: how do we build on successes? This should be the key question for change management. And the most important piece of all of this is the adoption milestones. How are we measuring that people are going through from awareness to commitment? There are 3 steps. The first one is devise the milestones before implementing the change. You might not believe it, but I have a lot of conversations where we start to look at this after we have gone live. But it is important for us to remember that we should be aligned with the first goals that we established during our pilot. The second one is define the mark. That is, where do we want to go? So we know when we are measuring against something. And the third one, easy peasy. Once we have the plan, we know how to track it. So this is what I'm going to show you next with a very visible example. So first, devise them before you implement the change. So these adoption milestones can look like the ones that I am sharing it in here. We have our person here on the left, and before they start being introduced to everything that's going to happen, they are just there, right? And as they go through these stages, they can be early adopters as of using the platform, they can become super users, or they can become innovators. This is just an example, but it is for you to have a reference of what could be those 3, 4, or 5 marks that you want to hit and where you want to see your people going. Then the second one is define the mark. So here I'm sharing like 4 questions. So first one, like, what is the main goal? So let's say the main goal, it is to increase the reuse rate. So how often respective content pieces are reused across multiple channels? You have stated that this is the goal that you want to reach. And you identify what is the key feature that you will need to look at or to track to be able to see this live. And this one is make a copy, as simple as that. And then another question, what metrics or KPIs are connected to reusage based on the product features? So I'm sharing here some examples of how the dynamics over all time, where we are looking at quantitative data or qualitative data. So if we look at the quantitative data, you might look at things as training attendance, like what's the percentage of people who attended the 3, 4, 5, 10 sessions. It depends on how we are splitting it. And then we look at the correlation between active users versus number of reuse models. Or you can take a look at number of reuse models versus total reuse per channel. So these are examples of not just numbers alone that we are looking on a dashboard and we expect to see that, okay, the number is going up, then that means that people are actively using it. Yes, that it's an indicator, but it doesn't allow us to see that people are actually moving forward, right? It just indicates that in certain time, people have been able to increase the number of reuse models more successfully. So matching this quantitative data and analyzing it, it is what it's going to give us the insight. And then the qualitative data, you also want to gather like what is the percentage of people through change? Maybe you have heard this before, and is there is people sometimes, most of the times, when change is introduced in the organizations, people are just waiting to see if I do nothing, if the change will go away. And this is why McKinsey, in all of this research, they have seen that 70% of digital transformation initiatives will go to failure. So only 30% succeed. And I will say that this is part of what change management does. So you want to take a look at where you should be looking at and how you are going to analyze those results. So when you're tracking the milestone, as I shared, like analyzing the data, and you see that, let's say, your colleagues from Americas, from North America, they are more of super users. And then you look at the users that you have in APAC region, and you mean that they are the early adopters. it is not just that people are in one bucket, but what is the adoption story? Not just the numbers, but what can you see in regards to the content that Global is putting out there? How is it connected to the business rules, to the medical review? Because if there was no input, if Global took too long according to their content planning, all of these things are going to, start influencing how you look at all of these things. But definitely the adoption milestones and the story will be able to help you to assess and see where the change is happening and where do you need to action on training, on more communication, on more follow-ups, on stabilization calls. You can be looking at all of these things. So there is a very brief exercise for you. I will want to make this practical, so you're not just listening to me, but also being able to think as we share. So pick your approach. You can be either modularizing existing content or modularizing new content. Then what is your key goal? Are we talking about reusage? Are we talking about faster time to market? Are we talking about decreasing the number of rounds with the medical review? It can be all of them, by the way. I'm just saying, like, pick one so that it is an easier exercise for you to do. And then what metrics will you consider? You can look at the same ones that I was sharing with you before, and those ones are pretty much the most used ones in a sense. But as you saw before, when we think of the what is the key feature that I should be tracking on the tool that we're using in the content authoring tool, it is what it's going to help you to take a look at that success. So I'm just going to let that sink in for a couple of minutes. And when you think that, I encourage you to think of then what percentage will define, for example, a super user. When you say that if you have a population of 30%, let's say, 30% of the mark that you have said before, that will categorize, or that will put your the colleagues from a specific region, a specific office. I will let you decide what will be the demographics that you will use, but that it will make, for example, a super user. Since we don't have much time and I want to make sure that we can answer some questions, I'm just going to share something because I know that Anastasiia is going to build up on it. So it is a case study of a company that I have actually been working with. Revenue, it's 4.1 billion a year, a headcount of almost 4,000 people. It had its headquarters where we can see the global in London. And they have chosen this local market in Italy via an agency. Their approach, modularizing existing content. So initially, when we were looking at, you will see in parentheses that there was no change management. They started to go all in without considering the adoption milestones. So what they did is they revised the current metrics that they were already tracking from before, and they tried to fit them between the model using Modular. What was the Modular guidance and what the Modular model promises, right? But then after 2 months, the dashboards did not provide enough information to measure the new ways of working and it reflected their desired goals. So the realization is that once we were trying to look at how progress was looking like, we were staring at a dashboard that we didn't have enough criteria to say the change is happening or we see the fruits of it, right? So when change management was introduced, we ran 4 workshops. where the idea was to look at what metrics will reflect on the new ways of working. And the way that we did this was to focus on analyzing the KPIs in regards to people, in regards to content, and in regards to the data, so that we could put the whole picture together. So I'm going to wrap up there, just to go a quick recap on how do we look at adoption milestones. First, devise the milestones before you implement the change. So this is a stage of discovery, definition, and preparation. Then you hit the mark. What would you like to look at? And if you don't have any baseline, that it's okay. Allow yourself to have some margin so that we can learn as we go through to the change. And track the milestone. Have you set the mark, that you would like to check in the first 6 weeks? Or how the content plans have been developed, and then you understand if at week 3 you should already start seeing some progress that worth X or Y. So I will let it there. Thank you for listening, for plugging in, and for joining. And if you have any questions at the moment, I'll be happy to take them, or we can have Anastasiia and then have questions at the end. I will let you decide that.
Well, I don't mind if there are some questions. Yeah, please go forward. Dario, are there any questions? Because we can't see them.
Yes, hi. Actually, there are no questions. I believe that everything was pretty much clear. And would you have maybe, since we are left with 5 minutes, would you have maybe some final thoughts which you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, of course. And well, I thought that we would have at least 7 minutes. I cannot share my presentation slides.
Okay, now you are.
Here it is. Yeah, just a few words that I'm Anastasiia Tykhonova. I'm a CMO at Viseven. Well, thank you for being with us for almost 3 hours already. And what makes me and Cecilia a great team, because we are working together, is that I'm about digits, numbers, data, and she's about people. And actually, Cecilia is the person who taught me how to monitor people behavior and how it influences the data we measure, we collect, etc. So let me do this speech pretty quick, because she covered a lot of questions already. And I want just to, Cecilia has mentioned that the importance of results measurement. So let me continue with this topic from a little bit different angle. Digital transformation has added complexity and loads of data to pharmaceutical, healthcare, and life science businesses. Even though these industries have been working on becoming data-driven for many years, most of them have achieved mixed results at best, let's be honest. If yesterday they didn't have data to make decision, today they are drawing in data, but still lack information and are starving for real knowledge to make their decision on. So let's see what are the key business challenges. Here you can see the most common one, that when data becomes decentralized, it becomes more difficult to control, to find, to manage, to ensure the data accuracy, etc. Well, additionally, creating and supporting data pipelines is time consuming. It always lacks automation in many companies, and it often created for single use, which is actually a problem. So you need to rebuild your pipelines every time you want to measure something. Complexity grows exponentially. Well, each pipeline lacks proper data operations, etc. But pay attention to the last point, which says that business users don't trust any data except for their own. And many and many of them make decisions without any or without sufficient data. And actually, that's a problem Cecilia was speaking about. Having data is not enough. We need people who are looking at this data, who are understanding this data, and actually can take any actions. So as a result, we either don't measure anything or measure wrong things for wrong people at wrong time. Um, so before hiring a data analyst or any agency, ask yourself which measures really matter. Define which metrics matter at which level of the organization. Because when marketers get swamped with data, they often report wrong things to wrong people. So having a specific goal is necessity for starting any project, including building a data analytics department, let's say, or hiring an agency. So here we come to the first issue regarding KPIs. We set up KPIs from data we have instead of collecting data which could help us to reach our KPIs. And this is a case study Cecilia mentioned when there were KPIs and there were no data to actually measure those KPIs. And the problem is that usually companies go first with data, and then they try to set up KPIs, but they somehow don't match them, and this could be a big problem launching any of the projects. Let's quickly take a look at good and bad KPIs. What's bad KPIs? Well, at the worst case, it's when there are no KPIs at all. When KPIs are set by industry benchmarks, when same KPIs are not differ from position to position or department to department, and when there is no data to measure those KPIs. In contrast, good KPIs aligned with business vision and strategy, actionable, predictable, time trackable, aligned with the position and business level. So let me also quickly introduce Linda. Linda is a C-level manager in pharma company. She has been in the industry for 20 years. She knows that business needs accurate data in place. Well, Linda has to keep an eye on her general corporate metrics such as revenue, profit, market share, etc. She also knows that a company has at least 3 sources of information. Let's say CRM system, ERP system, and spreadsheets, which her sales department uses for everyday work. To achieve a minimum goal, she has to collect this data all together and start receiving a regular report on it, so she could measure these indicators we mentioned above. At the same time, Sarah, a brand manager, is interested in completely different metrics, or at least on same metrics but on a different level. She also has different KPIs, so she needs to make sure that campaigns are launched, mails are delivered, blocks of modular content are tested and reused, personalized, etc. While we have a third person, Max, a senior data analyst, and he's actually doing his everyday job. He's not paid to provide you with any insights from the reports he builds. And this is another problem which you could meet on your digital transformation journey, when management and people who are actually working with data are not aligned. We don't have much time, so I will probably just uh, bring you through a couple of stages. So like building a house, building your data analytics department takes some stages. First stage is data collection. Second stage is sorting the data, then arranging the data, and finally visualizing the data. In Sarah's case, in Linda's case, these reports are enough. So she has got a full picture, she has got her metrics, and she can keep an eye on it, just understanding if everything goes right or something goes wrong. In Sarah's case, this is not enough. She has to take action on the results she achieves, because because if she doesn't if she doesn't do any A/B testing, it's useless. Her marketing strategy will actually go will be destroyed in a month or so. So for this reason, Sarah has to test hypothesis, and to test hypothesis, she can only together with a data analyst, sorry, because this is a work in cooperation, and this is how people actually how important people are on this journey as well. So let's say everything went well, and Sarah has her reports. They would look like this. These are just a couple of examples we have built recently. And it actually brings us to the second issue, right? When analytics is gathered, but no actions are taken. And this is a problem of many marketers. And the problem is that they usually have lack of time, or they are not aligned with the data analysts because they are not speaking the same language. And here, what could help is actually storytelling. When data analyst is mature enough to build a story or explain the data you have gathered, and actually to help you as a marketing to extract these insights from the report, then it could work much better. So the best case scenario is when a properly maintained data warehouse is available, when having the support of informed, motivated senior management is also essential, because without this support, it won't work. When members of the organization, especially senior ones, don't feel confident about the potential results of the project, well, it's almost unwise to proceed. Eventually, it will fail due to resistance within the company, and it's what Cecilia was speaking about as well. We need not only to collect data, explain data, and actually to define KPIs. We need to work with people to provide this change management, and actually to teach them on how to use this data and how to achieve better results. So on this note, let me to invite you to an upcoming workshop held by Cecilia, where you will be able to set up your business metrics if you think you are not measuring the right ones at the moment. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, happy to answer. Yeah, it was quick. I tried to be on time.
Thank you, Anastasiia. Thank you, Cecilia. Very great presentation, and looking forward to the next one, led by Oksana and Denis. See you very soon.